record. Hello, everybody. It is Tanya Williams here, author of A Child-Free Happily Ever After and founder of Childfree Magazine. And I am talking to the beautiful Lacey Pruitt this morning. Or it could be this evening, depending on where you are and when you're watching this. Lacey wrote a fantastic article for Childfree Magazine, Childfree by Choice, Stepmom by Circumstance. And I wanted to dive in deeper to her story and share some of it with you because I think a lot of people can relate to what she has written about. Now, Lacey is child-free by choice, but she's also a stepmom, and I know a number of people who fall into that category, so to speak. And her story is not unique in a way, because there are a lot of other women who face this every day in their lives where they fall for someone who maybe has kids and they're maybe not sure how to navigate it and so forth. So, Lacey, do you want to share with everyone a bit more about, what you've written about and a bit about your story?
Absolutely. And thank you so much for the welcome. I love being here discussing part of my story with you. It's all around labels, isn't it? We're so quick to put each other in these little categories, and we want to call ourselves something. I mean, stepmom, child-free, mom, aunt, just we collect these labels. And it's not all necessarily wrong, except when it comes in between friends. And what I've experienced is when I've made choices in my life, specifically around whether or not to reproduce, I noticed that it created a lot of angst with some people in my life. All of a sudden, I was inviting this new way of doing life and this new concept that I hadn't been around in my life. And so it was a lot of new for people. And at the same time, for me, I was trying to get okay with that. So like you said, I'm child free by circumstance and by choice. So my husband had 2 children before we got married, and they're grown now and they're great, but he had decided not to have more children. And he said, is this something that you can get on board with or not? And so for me, I really had to sit with myself and figure out, okay, at that point, I had never really thought about having kids of my own. I'm a career woman. I loved my life. My life felt full, and I just hadn't gone there yet. I always thought it would happen one day because that's what people told me. And when my husband gave me that question, he really did me a favor. He opened up my world to this other option that nobody ever gave me permission to even entertain. And I look back now on that situation going, how sad. I really am a little sad for young ladies who never even entertain the option, who are just told, oh, you will grow up one day, you will marry, you will have children of your own, you will do this, you will do that. I think it's time to stop some of those labels and some of that direction. And I love being a part of this movement and this magazine that you've created, because I think the conversations need to keep happening. For me, it was very difficult to try to blend a family, figure out this new way of life for me as a married person and as a stepmother, and all these labels people put on me, and then also to get criticism for those choices. It was just a difficult place to be. And then on the other side, I'm hearing these conversations from women about how great it is to have a tribe and to have a female tribe and to get together with your fellow women. Well, all I was getting was kicked off the team because I was deciding not to have children of my own. So it was a really kind of a difficult mess that I had to navigate through. And as I mentioned in the article, most of the decision was just getting firm in my decision and standing my ground and really not listening to outsiders. It's hard to do until you get good at it, and then it gets fun.
I love it. One of the things that I love that you just mentioned there was around permission. And yeah. I think, I want to see the dialogue change, especially with girls and teenagers and young women, with the way that their parents are talking to them about their life choices and saying, well, it's okay if you want to have kids or not want to have kids, and really opening up and changing that dialogue. But I think there needs to be permission, as you said, for them to be able to do that. Because I think it's just like, you will. I think we all experience that growing up. because we are told by society and our parents and everybody around us that that is what we will do because that's what the women before us have done. So I think it is really important to give them permission and that they to go, well, you can make your own choices. And we definitely need to do something about changing the dialogue and the conversations that we're having between parents and daughters and sons but even other women. And I think the fact that you got so much criticism from other women, one is, well, I find it sad that other women feel like they have to put other women down like that, or put, criticize their choices. But
Yeah.
again, it just goes to show that women are, sometimes their own worst enemies with this stuff.
Yes.
It's like, why we talk about this thing called the sisterhood, and I often say the sisterhood is bullshit because why is there so much judgment and criticism from women and it's usually women to women where it happens,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Why do you think it is that women feel the need to put other women in a box or create a label and go, well, that's the club that you're in, or that's how I'm going to define you? Why do you think that is?
I feel like at certain points in our lives, we're panicking. Life is hard and it's tough being a woman. I love being a woman and there's some benefits to it, but just staying on point here, there's parts of it that are hard. And being a new mom is probably really hard. Being a person who can't have their own children and having to deal with that, that's probably so super hard. Being a woman who decides not to have children of her own and gets outed by all of her friends, that is super hard. Being made to stay late at the workplace because you don't have a family to go home to, that is super hard. So we're all trying to do our hard and our difficult, and we're just looking for someone to say, hey, it's okay. Can you support me through this? So I feel like the flip happens too. When somebody's going through their hard and your hard doesn't align with their hard, they're like, okay, I don't know what to do with you. And they don't care enough to ask the questions because I'm busy going through my hard. That's a very kindergarten way to explain it, but I think people aren't asking the right questions. I would love for a woman to come up to me and say, oh, one we get all the time, oh, do you have children? No, I don't have any children of my own. Oh, why? Tell me more about that. Oh, that's interesting. How did you come to that decision? Oh, wow. I don't hear a lot of people do that. I mean, pick your thing. We don't get that. What do we get? Ugh, you're going to regret that. Ew. What do you mean? No kids ever?
But if you flip that and you said that to them, could you, like, you'd be a leper, be like, oh my God,
Yeah.
how do you say that? Oh, how many kids you got? 3. Oh, you're going to regret that. Like, you could get out of the party. They'd be like, how do you say that to her? And it's just like, well, you just said
Yeah.
that to me. Like,
Yeah.
different.
I think the answer is let's get a little bit more interested in each other. Let's ask each other questions. This girl over here is not like me, but I want to know more about what life is like for you. What is difficult about your days? How do you set them up? How do you organize them? I'd love to see in a future magazine article what our busies look like. I mean, even a non-mom and a mom's busy. What does that look like? And I bet we'll find they're more aligned than we think. And I want all women everywhere. It's a huge effort because we're so programmed to just be in our bubble, do things a certain way. If you don't do it that way, it's weird. People don't know what to do with you. But I want us to get uncomfortable enough, myself included, to just be curious. Okay, even the story I was telling you earlier. Okay, tell me more about why you would say that to me. So we get a criticism. Well, drop your ego and just say, okay, tell me more about why you would think that, or tell me more about why you thought that was okay. You said that. Tell me more about why you decided to have kids. I don't know. For me, it's a curiosity. Let's just start to have deeper conversations, not just critical.
Yeah, I think that's a really positive step. And I think if women can open themselves up to that. Now, I've got a lot of friends who have kids, and I've got friends that don't have them as well. But most of my long-term friends all have children, and the reason why they are still in my life is because they have always been very respectful of my choices and the decisions that I've made, and them as well. One of my best friends has 4 children. I love going and spending time with her and her kids and whatever, but I also love going, oh, Auntie Tan's going to have a glass of wine now.
Hi. Yeah.
But and she knows that, and
Yeah.
and when I stay with her, she's always very respectful of the kids.
Yeah.
I'll leave her alone, give her space, and whatever else, because she knows that I'm not used to that. And I said, it's fine. Like if I need them to leave me alone, I'll tell them to leave me alone. It's all good. But we're very respectful of each other's choices, and most of my friends, are like that, and I also try and be respectful of theirs. But I think a lot of the judgment, the criticism tends to come from people who don't know us, or we're
Oh,
meeting them in a social situation. So you're at a barbecue, or you're at an event, or a working networking thing, or something, and that's where I found that I've probably got the most criticism or judgment and because I don't understand why the first question we get asked when we meet someone is, how many kids do you have? I'm like, I'm at a work function. How is that even relevant to anything to start with?
anything.
Like, I'm at a work function. Like, this is, I mean, I'm here to talk about marketing or whatever.
Anything
How
else.
is it relevant?
I haven't you had that feeling where you've gone in somewhere and you're like, I'm feeling good. I've got a lot going on. I'm rocking, and you're ready to just share your stuff with everybody. And they're like, "Oh, did you leave your kids at home, or what are your kids doing tonight?" I'm like, I'm doing really amazing stuff over here. It's like it negates anything else we can do in life. And I don't know the answer to your question. Why is that the first question, especially at a work event? We are so much more than what we decide to do with our reproduction. It's crazy.
Yeah. And look,
Yeah,
but even I get that mothers probably define themselves in that way, but I just think, well, you're more than just that as well. You're not just a mum. Like you do all these other amazing things in your life as well. So I think some people maybe just feel comfortable in defining themselves that way. But I remember being at a conference, and every single woman hopped up and said, like, her title, and I'm a mum of three, and I hopped up and I was like, well, I don't have any children, but no, it's actually not relevant to me introducing you anyway, how many children I have. And it was like, you can see I got a couple. Ooh, and it's just like, well, it's not relevant in this situation. Like, it drives me nuts. So I digress.
You did, but Tanya, you did bring up a good point with your friends. I heard respect. And that's me too. So the people that are still in my life, the friends, the girlfriends that I still have, they're in my life because there's a mutual respect. And at that moment where I thought, oh gosh, girls are going to be the enemy the rest of my life, and that was kind of sad. Um, I was shown a couple of women in my life, friends in my life, who get it. And I remember looking at them saying, thank God, because there is a mutual respect with the people that are supposed to be aligned with you. And they lift us up. And so there is a sisterhood. So there's a tribe, there's a sisterhood, there's a community of women, but it's tough finding your tribe, I think. But once you do, it's good.
Yeah, exactly. You've got to, as you said, you've got to align yourself with people who are like-minded and who will, support you and yeah, and that certainly can take time. As you were going through this process, I mean, it's hard enough as it is. How did your partner support you through it? Like, he's got kids, he says he doesn't want any more kids. You're trying to figure out, well, am I okay with that? What sort of support did he give you through that process?
I think the first and foremost, my husband's always lifted me up. He's always boosted me up. He wants me to, he thinks I'm great the way I am right now, but he knows I have a lot of ambition and I want to do a lot with my life. And he's never held me back. That's another message of society, that if you get married, you have to conform to whatever the husband wants you to do. And that has not been my truth. I'm learning the more I go through life, society's truths are not my truths. And I start to feel a little lost because I have an amazing husband. We're not perfect as a couple. Neither one of us are perfect as individuals, but that man really is there to support me. And he reminds me, a big thing during especially these challenging topics like what we're talking about. That was a really difficult time in my life, trying to identify, well, what does Lacey look like with these new roles? He was there to build me up on days where I didn't really feel great. I was lost. I was questioning everything, but I was also kind of losing my identity. I was like, okay, well then what do I want to be about? And I was trying to figure that out for me. he was there to support me. And I thank God that I married well. I tell everybody, they'll ask about children, and I was like, no, it's not in the cards for us, or I'll pick some one liner that's acceptable to everybody. And I said, but I sure did marry well. And I really mean that, because I think, blessings look different to all of us, right? So somebody's blessing may be 8 children, and I'm glad for them. But another person's blessing may be a great husband, and I'm glad for them, for me. Another person's blessing may be the most adorable doggies that you've ever met, and they get to be a dog mom. I think we get to pick our blessings and just be grateful for what we have. So mine is definitely having a partner who gets me, who loves me, who allows me space to grow, and really shows me that there's a lot more in life I can do besides being a mother. And that's important to me, that he gets it, because I think you need your sacred space at home when the world throws you for a loop, and you're sitting there going, okay, am I getting all this wrong? No. He's there to right set you, or so whoever's there to right set you and go, no, you're just great the way you are.
Oh, and it is so, so important to have that support. I'm the same. I'm very blessed to have, a man who will stand behind me and push me forward into the limelight and say, you be in the spotlight, you do what you need to do to shine.
Yes.
And that he's secure enough to do that. I think there are many men who are threatened by strong, independent women who have their own views. And thank God I didn't marry one. Well, I wouldn't have married him if he wasn't supportive. But
Yeah.
it is. It's a blessing to have, someone. And I'm grateful for everything that I have in my life. But I think, well, I did pick well.
I know.
Good one.
Don't you affirm yourself every so often, like, okay, and it's worth it. So the decision I made is worth it. And we've grown with our relationship, obviously, but even the relationship with his children has grown and has improved.
Yeah.
Tanya, I don't know if I had my own children that I would even care to improve some relationships that I have in my life with other people's children.
Yeah.
But we're able to give so much. I do love children. I know some people decide not to have children because they don't like them. I love children. I just don't want them for myself. And I like my space. And it's it's nice to be able to give to other people that are already here, other little people that are already here. My mom friends, uh, when they come to me because they need a little extra support, I'm glad I have some time to give them too. It's nice. I know my personality, and I'll get wrapped up into my own thing quicker than anything. So I won't have a lot to give. And I'm grateful I'm in this space where I feel like we're set up pretty well, and I get to give more and be a helper. That means a lot to me.
And I think that's a really important point as well, is that people think, oh, if you don't have children, one, you either don't like children. And that's why I don't get involved in there's a lot of Facebook groups that I just don't like the way
Yeah.
they speak about parents and the way that they talk about kids. I think it's so disrespectful and rude, and I don't want any part of that.
Good.
I'm all about, women having choices. But it's, as you mentioned, the dialogue needs to change, but there are other things that we are doing to give back. I know you volunteer, I do some volunteer work. We can mentor other girls and women. I know you do some of that as well. We can support our friends, and we can be great aunties, and and help with our nieces and nephews, and be another sounding board for them. Like, there are so many other ways that we can be involved and give back, that is fulfilling for us and actually helping other people in society, that I still do not understand why people want to, I suppose, criticize our choices. Well, I was told once I was a cancer on society because I didn't have children. I was a waste of space, basically. And I went, wow, really? Well, if you saw what I did with my time and the way that I gave back, you would
Yeah.
probably eat your words, because you were just an uneducated idiot who
Yeah.
has no concept of what my life is at all. You've just come to this, you don't have kids, so therefore you're not worth anything. Um,
Right.
and that's, and I push back on that. I'm not afraid to push back on that, but I know that there are a lot of women out there who can't, who just are too afraid to, they're too shy to, they're scared to. And I think that's where people like us, who aren't afraid to shy away from it, can stand up for those other people and say, that's not okay. we need to start to change the conversation, and we need to start to change the dialogue around this, because there are so many other ways that we give back, and there are other things that we do, and as really valuable members of our society and our communities.
Yes, I 100% agree. I don't know that you would be building a magazine if you were busy raising babies. There's so
Time.
no, it's not, I mean, it's just nature of human nature to compare the roles, but I like to think of this big bundle of roles women get to play, and we get to handpick the roles. We all get to choose. So the cruelty that you were talking about, I don't understand it. If somebody had shared that with me, and I get other kind of negative comments, I just go to sadness. And I think I need a lift from that eventually, but I'm sad. That's a closed-minded world. They
Yeah.
don't know this world out here that I know, that is so big and broad. Women can do whatever the hell they want. And I don't know that there's any room to squash anybody's decision. I would never think to squash a mother's decision to have children. Go do you, have 8, have 12. I would love to support you. A woman's decision not to marry, go you. That is awesome. I love that. I want people to happiness. I want them to find their joy and their purpose. I think that's my main goal. So the labels and the criticism and the cruelty, I had enough when I started hearing that happen to other women. And I started finding these other strong women in the child-free world and the community that were just really abused, verbally abused. There's no room for that. Meanness is meanness, and there's no time for it.
Yeah, and I don't. I think this, and part of the, the topic that you wrote about is this whole thing about labels, and
Labels, yeah.
I don't understand society's, obsession with I'm going to put this label on you, regardless of what it is, regardless of if it's mother, child free, gay, black, like. It's just like, well, why do I have to just be defined in one way? Why can't I think of myself, I go, well, yes, I'm child free and I'm a female, but I'm also, a mum to, I'm a businesswoman, and I'm an author, and I'm a writer, and I'm a speaker, and I do all these, and I'm a mum to fur babies. Like, I don't want to put one label on me, just like I run multiple businesses as well, because I go, well, why should I just do one thing?
Yeah.
So I think society struggles with that for some reason. And I think a lot of it is because most people are very traditional. We do live in a pro-natalist society, so that's how we've been raised. But I think this, I know I have to define you one ways, is how our world has typically been, in that, oh no, I have to just call you this one thing.
Yeah.
How do you think what are some practical things that we can do to change some of this labeling, do you think? I know it's not going to happen overnight. Whether it ever happens, I don't know, but there's got to be things that we can put in place, conversations we can have, whatever it might be, to start to change up this labeling of every person or every woman, out there.
Well, I think we're doing some of it by communicating our story. I think people's stories are one of their most, it's their superpower. Share your story, share it confidently. As far as women go, I think 2 key things would really help the plight. It's confident women. So again, getting set in your story, and kindness, kind women. So if we could help build confident, kind women, here's what you have. You have conversations happening all the time, and nobody's ego is stopping it short. So I'll speak about me. I know for a season of my life, when somebody criticized my decisions, I just shut them down. I was like, okay, you're not for me, done. And I went over here. I'm hoping that I matured. I think I matured to a place where I'm curious about the conversation. So I get criticism here. What made you think to say that? Tell me more about that. Open up the conversation, even with those people that are critical of us right now. It's difficult to do. I know it's a tall ask, because again, being a female, being a woman's hard. Life is hard. Some days you don't feel like being generous to everybody. But if we could up the percentage of how many times we keep an open mind and drop the ego on both sides and really converse, get to the heart of who somebody is, I think it's what you said earlier. If somebody was facing us face to face and we shared our stories, I don't see most people being harmful. I don't. I think the labels will lift. I think they'll have a greater awareness. And let's face it, Tanya, on our side of this plight, it behooves us to open up everybody else's mind too. That's the only way the world's going to ever change, is having those aha moments like, oh yeah, there is more for women to do. That's right. If I don't have kids, I can go do this. Oh, that's right. There's a big old world out there. It, I don't think, I'm sad for this, but I don't think a lot of people have that broad view of the world. So it would be a benefit to our communication and our story here to share or to open up people's minds in a real compassionate way. Tell me more about that. Why do you think that about me? To, get to know people a little bit more.
Yeah. And I think they're great points. And I think on top of that as well, I think using our voice. So being
Yeah.
vocal about, not just our lifestyles and that sort of part, but standing up for women who maybe
Mm.
can't stand up for themselves as well. Pushing back on those conversations and saying, well, hang on a minute. That
Yeah.
is an okay thing to say to me, that I'll regret that. And, and some of those horrible statements that we get, that if we said that to a mother, oh my God, all hell would break
Yeah.
loose. So I think if we're all, going, well, hey, let's all use our voice.
Yeah.
And when we see conversations or statements being made that aren't okay, standing up and saying, hang on a minute, no, that's not acceptable. Or standing up for that person who you can see isn't as confident,
Yeah.
that does need someone in their corner, that needs that little bit of help as well. I think that's where people like us, and there's certainly a lot of people who are, in the not just the child-free world, but women in general that, have the confidence and the ability to do that. I think we all need to start to stand up for each other and go, hey, it's that person's choice. Because I still to this day cannot understand how people get upset about a decision that doesn't impact them. Why are you getting upset about me not having children? It doesn't impact you in the slightest. So I still never
Yeah.
understand that. I just cannot get my head around it. I don't get upset if
But
someone goes, they want 10 kids. You go, it doesn't impact me at all.
I think I've been told, and I really do think this is true. I think we offend their way of life. I think we offend if somebody's doing the opposite of us. It's not right, but it gave me some clarity on why somebody would even go there. I do feel like I'm offensive to some people. I'm not going to change who I am, but I do hope that they open up their mind to the fact that there's room on this world for both of us. And I welcome them, kind, confident women. I'm starting to see where that would really help a lot of things, wouldn't it? But it would definitely, yeah.
We need to start a kind, confident woman movement. Just
Absolutely, yeah.
you can be a mum or you can be child free or whatever, but let's just all be in this together and just be kind and confident.
There's so much there's so much we can do, and I've seen some powerful women do some amazing things. That's how we're really changing the world, and I think that's going to happen more and more in the future. But we've got to get our stuff together. I wish I could just tell women everywhere, do better. Just
Yeah.
be kind, be confident in your story, be kind, engage when you want to, engage when you feel like it, but just really show up kind and confident. That's a great message.
Yeah, and I think and these conversations hopefully can help people see that that's what we need to do, can make them think more about the conversations they have, the statements that they make, and step at a time. One person, another person, doesn't, you can start a movement, you can start to make change by one person doing something small, and that has a flow-on effect to someone else in their life or in that community. So we can all make an impact. Every single one of us can make, whether it's the smallest or the biggest thing, it doesn't matter.
It would be great for the magazine, Tanya, is having a clarity conversation, bring in mothers who assume certain things about us, and be able to clarify for them what it's really like. That would be wonderful.
I love that idea. I have to put that down as an idea for the next one if we can get. I've got so
Yeah.
many ideas, but I
Yeah.
like that. I like that that whole bring them in and be like, well, you make this assumption and this is actually
This
what
is how it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. Well, thank you so much for talking, Lacey. I love having these conversations with women like yourself. As I said, it was a great article. We've gotten some great feedback about it. I think it is very relatable. It's something that a lot of women go through. But just thank you for having the confidence to share your story and being okay with sharing your story, because I know not everybody can do that. So it's really great to have, you know, women like you who are confident and want to share that story with the rest of the world to help other women as well. So I just think that's fantastic. But thank you so much for being part of it. I love having you, you know, as part of my community and as part of this conversation. I just think it's awesome, and never let anyone dull your sparkle.
Thank you. I love it. Thank you, Tanya.
And I will be talking to you very soon.
Okay. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.